Now, I personally use JustWorks. They've been amazing for my company. I often recommend them to my nonprofit organizations. And I asked them to come on to talk a little bit more about the HR missteps that a nonprofit might take. And there's some common areas, Moses, that we often come across, and I want to dive right into those. So if you don't mind, let's just start right from the get-go. Talk to us a little bit about the difference between an employee and an independent contractor. I know that's a very gray area for some people, but then also, because I'm saying this because a lot of small nonprofits pay their founders or executive directors as an independent contractor, or they just don't know how to set up payroll. So they just pay everybody as a 1099. So we just kind of want to address that first foundational question right away.
Great. Thanks, Tasha. Yeah, I'd love to jump in, and thank you so much for having me. I'll do my best to cover the employee versus independent contractor classification in just a few minutes. When it comes to executive directors and some of the things you described, I'll tell you right off the bat, that is probably barking up the wrong tree. Anyone who performs compensable labor for the business who has suffered or permit to work is going to be considered an employee. Now, let me get a little bit more into what that means under Department of Labor regulations. So there's actually a number of tests to decide whether someone's an employee or independent contractor, which contributes a little bit to the confusion, I think. There's one under the Department of Labor. There's one under the IRS. Many states have their own tests as well. And organizations are obligated to meet all of the ones that apply to them before they move forward confidently. So one of the fundamental distinctions is the degree of control over the worker, such as whether the worker is compelled to work a set schedule, whether they use company equipment, and then what's called the economic reality test of whether they're in business, he or she is in business for him or herself. So freelancers and contractors are best thought of more as vendors or service providers. They're offering a product or specialized service. If someone is at your beck and call during a set of working hours for whatever you assign them to on an hour-to-hour basis, they're probably going to be correctly classified as an employee.
Absolutely. Good. So let me ask you another question that comes up oftentimes. But before I move on, I want to say again, legal disclaimers here. We're not attorneys, right? I usually recommend to my clients, it's always most conservative to classify people as an employee. Would you agree with that or no?
Absolutely, 100% agree. It's much safer to do so, to follow the FLSA, Fair Labor Standards Act requirements for minimum wage, for overtime compensation, as well as state and local laws to the same. So almost always safer to make someone an employee, yes.
Yeah. So a lot of times there's many listeners out there that listen to us that are they're the only person, they're a founder, they're a CEO. And once they start drawing compensation, I always advise them, go ahead and set yourself up on payroll, whether it's working with a PEO like JustWorks or another, .com simple payroll solution. Generally, they can walk you through the process if it's intimidating. Intimidation and overwhelm is not a good excuse for the Department of Labor or the IRS, as confusing as it can be. So I wanted to throw that in there for anybody that's in question, like, I still don't really know. Generally, it's more conservative just to follow all of the rules with payroll.